Last time we started talking about the equalizing meditation, equalizing self and others. And we talked about the first 3 points, that sentient beings all want to be happy and don't want to suffer. And if there's 10 beggars all wanting different things, it doesn't make any sense to, with a partial mind of attachment and aversion, to help some and not help others. If there's 10 people who are sick, again, with a partial mind of attachment and aversion, it's not suitable to ignore some people and to help others. Of course, and like I said last time, that doesn't mean you treat everybody the same, because people may have different diseases. You don't give them all the same medicine, and somebody who's needs urgent care, you're going to help them first rather than somebody else. So, we're not saying that you treat everybody absolutely equally, but in our mind we have equal concern and care about them. And then the next point is that sentient beings have all been kind to us, and that it doesn't make any sense to, well, let's just start out with that. Okay, so this also has 3 divisions, yeah. So here the first one is that that all sentient beings have been kind to us. So you can meditate on the kindness of your parents, and then how other sentient beings have been your parents, and do it that way. But actually, here in the equalizing meditation, it's not done that way. Okay, because I think that when you think about sentient beings being having been your parents, and you think of the kindness of your parents, it becomes quite personal, yeah. And so kind of seeing others' kindness because they've helped us personally. Whereas, and that already for some people in the West is a big thing they need to do with their parents, So I need a little aside here that I think that meditation is, it can be a big button pusher for people who have not had a family home life, a happy family home life. But I think it's an important thing to be able to see, the kindness of our parents in whatever way they were kind, and to see that given the situation they were in, given the way they were brought up, given their karma, their way of thinking, they were doing the best they could. Yeah. And I think being a parent is one of the hardest things in the world to be. And there are, you don't need a license. You don't need to pass an exam. You don't need to take any courses, And yet it's really one of the things that requires the most integrity and responsibility. And yet parents don't get any training for it. You just have this kid who moves in with you for the next, it used to be 18 years, now it's up to 40. Yeah. So, I think it's, working on a relationship with our family is good, and being able to see the kindness that was there and overlook, or come to terms with, or make peace with, all the chaos. Because, hey, this is samsara. When did we ever think we were going to have perfect family lives? Yeah. When did we ever think that? Well, since we were born. And, and then all the people out in society talk about it that way. But none of us have had perfect family lives. And I dare say, if we became parents, we would not be ideal parents. Yeah? Do you think you would be a great parent? I don't think I'd be a very good parent. Yeah? So, Yeah, so it's very hard. So I think it's important to have some empathy and compassion for our parents, and appreciate what they did do. Very important. Because in that way we can make peace in our own hearts. Yeah, if we don't make peace with our family and we're carrying all this stuff with us our whole life, it's going to adversely influence all of our other relationships. Yeah, and we're going to start saying and doing all the things that we vowed as kids we would never say and do to our own kids. I have friends who are parents, and they tell me they can't believe what comes out of their mouth. All the stuff that they vowed never, ever to say to their kids because their parents said it to them. And it was so painful. And then it just comes out, So, we need some compassion. Okay, so here in the equalizing meditation, we're thinking of the kindness of others, not just our family, not just our friends, and the people who are noticeably kind to us. Those people, it's quite wonderful to have a meditation reflecting on their kindness, but we have to do it without increasing our attachment to them. Okay, which can be challenging. But then to really broaden it and think of, the kindness of your teachers or the kindness of your coaches when you were in school. Okay, so they aren't your family and friends, but they're people who did a lot to help you. Yeah. And then expand it from there to neutral people. And think of all the people, in your daily life who you encounter. And many of them are strangers or, you don't know them very well. You're not very emotionally involved with them. But through the work they do in society, whatever their job is, then we benefit. Okay, so, we're all sitting here in Chenrezig Hall right now. So some of us know the people who made Chenrezig Hall, and that may get beyond the neutral emotional feeling into, but we won't go there either right now. But put it this way, contractors know it's not easy to build, and people who build know it's not easy to build, and that stuff comes up. Okay, but you people didn't, most, the guests here anyway, and some of the people who came later, you don't know what building Chenrezig Hall was like, okay? Or what moving the meditation hall was like, because the meditation hall used to be down here. And then it got moved up there, yeah? So, but when you think, here are all these people, because you have a contractor, you have engineers, and an architect. Our architect was wonderful. You have people who laid the carpet. We had volunteers come and build these, the altar things. People put in the cabinets. Then we got the cabinets from Home Depot, all the people there who built them and transported them, and then our electrician, and we won't talk about who decided where to put light switches. I won't talk about that one either. Yeah. Okay. Then there was the plumber. Then there were the people who put in the blue jean insulation and who didn't put enough of the other insulation downstairs. You can help people when they want, but they put in some. So give them credit for that, because it could be worse. The people who built the foundations for our statues, the people who made the statues, when you start looking around, everything here has a story behind it in which many people were involved. The chairs, the tables, Venable, yes, she made those, but who made the legs for the tables, the kitchen doors, the curtains. When you start, you take it just even one object, and then you start thinking of all the people who were involved back and back and back with its production. It's not just, okay, the chair, and somebody made the cloth and somebody made the metal, but where did the metal come from? And where did the cloth come from? And who worked in the factories? And who grew the cotton? And who invented the synthetic material? And who worked in the mines to get the metal? And, and so forth. Who designed it? Who transported it, all the volunteers. We had a whole afternoon, you remember that? With chair parts all over this room in which we were assembling all the chairs. Yeah. And you'll notice that we don't have any mix and match. They all, we don't have a red back with a blue seat. Yeah. So... although we could have done that, But, anything, you look at the blinds, anything has a whole history going back many years, incredible number of people involved. And we don't even know those people. Yeah, we've probably never even thought about them. In fact, when we're driving on the highway, if they cut us off, instead of saying, thank you for making the chair that I use every day, we go, why did you cut me off? Okay? But if you really think about it, we are so dependent on all these people doing all the different jobs, and we don't know them. And yet, if even one of them didn't do what they did, we wouldn't have this hall to eat lunch in and do everything else we do in Generosity Hall. Okay? So it's really kind of mind-blowing when you think about it and you take this back. I remember Zopa Rinpoche talking about this one time, and he was telling the story of when he was up at Laudo. That's up in the Solokhumbu area of Nepal. He was born in that area, and his previous life was there. So he would go up there, and, the big thing they have to eat in Solokhumbu is potatoes, for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And people would bring him offerings of potatoes. And he said that when he thought of all the people involved in him getting even one potato, and the kindness of all those people for doing what they did, he said it was he almost couldn't even bring himself to eat the potato. That seeing the kindness of others was that great, that could he really, would eating the potato really reciprocate their kindness in any way? Yeah. So personally speaking, I found this meditation on seeing the kindness of others incredibly liberating, really liberating, because it's totally opposite to the mind that likes to pick faults with others. And we already know that mind is overdeveloped in us, okay? Overdeveloped, too well trained, But to really train the mind that sees the kindness, it's really changes how we look at other people. And then, when you're driving and there's guys, working on the road, sometimes you stop and you say, thank you for working on the road. Yeah. When there's, the guys, the linemen who work for the PUD, we are so appreciative to them. When our electricity went out, a couple of years ago in the middle of winter and we were freezing, you know, we put snacks together and stuff and took it out to these guys, you know, as a way to express our appreciation. But, you know, there's so many more people even than that who are doing so many things that, and, you know, do we really stop and say thank you? Yeah, and show our awareness of the deep way in which we're interconnected, and the fact that we really couldn't stay alive without the kindness of all these other people. There's no way. Yeah, I don't know how to grow food. Yeah, I don't know how to build a shelter, you know, or create medicine, or, you know, make cloth. How could I even keep myself alive? Desert island's not for me. Yeah, unless there were a lot of other people on it. Yeah, because everything, we're so dependent on others. And I think even more so at this historical period than in previous years. You know, because I'm sure the original settlers in this area, you know, they could take care of more of their own stuff. Yeah. But us now, yeah. I mean, I have a hard enough time with computers, let alone everything that you need to stay alive. So, you know, to really think about that, and when you think about it deeply, there comes a strong sense of, I've been the recipient of a tremendous amount of kindness. And this feeling that we so often have of we don't have enough and people aren't good enough to us and they don't appreciate us and they boss us around and we don't have what we need and other people have more and better, and, you know, we're entitled to stuff, but society doesn't come through for us. All of that feeling of frustrated entitlement disappears, you know, and in its stead, there's just this feeling of being so grateful, yeah, and a knowledge, you know, that we've been the recipient of amazing kind of kindness. Yeah. So often here, you know, at the Abbey, I talked about, you know, building and what goes into building. But sometimes those of us who have been here for a long time, we stand in front of a building and we think of all the people who donated money to build that building. You know, hundreds, maybe thousands, I don't know, of people who donated money that they had to work very hard to get at, you know, 9-to-5 jobs that they may or may not have enjoyed. But then they give their money to us to build a building. And when you think about it, it's just like, oh my goodness, yeah. And when you know, we read like tonight is soap night, so we'll be reading the list of people who have helped us either financially or offering service or whatever they do. And some of the people we know and some of the people we don't know. Yeah. I mean, we recently got a donation from a man in Turkey who found our things on YouTube. And then there's somebody else who wrote and asked for permission to translate some of my books into Arabic. Yeah? So, you know, it's like, who are these people contacting the Abbey and then donating to us, you know, who we've never even met? Yeah. And then you really feel the kindness of others. It's just extraordinary. You know? So So that's the first point. We'll do the other 2 points in the second topic on Wednesday.
I would like you to maybe think about sometime this topic in terms of emotional, the way we depend on each other emotionally, because it's something I've been thinking about. Because it's clear that children don't develop without certain kinds of parenting and social interaction. But I still have this question about, like, and you've told us that, like, meditators don't really go off on their own. I think we have this notion that they just are unrelated to anyone. But it seems like in our society, because we're brought up with this thing of pull yourself up by your own bootstraps, that there is this notion that we're not connected socially.
Yeah. And as we know, to quote Emma Gonzalez, that's BS. We call that BS. Really, it's not true at all. Yeah, this thing of pulling yourself up by your own bootstraps, what kind of baloney is that? It's total baloney. I mean, people, we always talk about immigrants, impoverished immigrants coming here and making a good life. They worked hard, but so many other people gave them the opportunity. And our whole education is dependent on the kindness of others. All the things we do with our leisure time is dependent on the kindness of others. There's no such thing as, being an independent individual who can manage their own life. I mean, it's just this hallucination that we dream of. I mean, just really, can you pull yourself up by your own bootstraps? Come on. I mean, try and do it. Put on your snow boots and then pull yourself up. Yeah? So the analogy is impossible to do, so what it analogizes is also impossible. Yeah? We are anything but independent entities. Yeah? And I think, we hear the meditators going off, to their cave and whatever. Where do they get food? Where do they get food? Yeah, one of my teachers was Geshe Tokten was a meditator above Dharamsala, way up. And one of his students, every Sunday, rain, snow, doesn't matter what it was, monsoon, heat, he walked all the way up that mountain and around to bring Geshe-la a week's supply of food. Yeah. And I'm sure Geshe-la appreciated that very much. Yeah. But then, where did that food come from? Yeah. Other people gave the money to buy it. People, even you're just eating sampa, somebody grew the barley, somebody ground it, somebody roasted it, somebody put it in a bag. Yeah. So I think the meditators have probably a very strong sense of the kindness of others and their interdependence with others. Yeah, so don't believe society. Okay.